water, so you might need to come in a little closer.
Name and your portfolio and where we are.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to you, the members of the media, and greetings in this new year 2021. My name is Lindon Mendez. I am the Chief Labor Relations Officer, and we are here outside the compound of Trinidad Cement Limited in Clifton. This morning, we called the members of the media here to bring to the attention of the public some of the major issues that we face here at TCL. I would first want to give a bit of context with respect to what is going on here at TCL. TCL being a manufacturing company, local manufacturing company, and of course with that there's a certain level of benefit to the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. One such benefit will be employment to the nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, and of course revenue generated and foreign exchange generation. Of course, the union has been in a constant campaign to support the local manufacturing sector, indigenous manufacturing sector, for obvious reasons. With respect to the benefit that the support of such ventures would bring to the citizens and the nation as a whole of Trinidad and Tobago. Having said that, through the union's lobbying, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has instituted a number of measures that would see TCL enjoy a favorable advantage in the marketplace. Now, on the backdrop of that, we have a management that is acting very callous with respect to the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. What do I mean by that? I mean that Trinidad Cement Limited, although a local company, has foreign management and foreign ownership in control of the assets and the operations of TCL. What they are doing is that they are disrespecting the laws of Trinidad and Tobago, and they are disrespecting the workers and by extension the union, OWTU. So there are a number of issues that we want to address. Now, the main issue that we would have called with respect to retrenchment. Now, retrenchment, as you are aware, retrenchment is an exercise that a company can engage in once they have established surplus labor for their requirement in their operations. It is clear through meetings that we would have had previously with the company that TCL is unable to substantiate surplus labor. We will go further to indicate that TCL, through their own discussions, through their own organizational structure, has shown where there are vacancies in their operations. Notwithstanding this clear and obvious fact, the company is still engaged in an exercise of retrenchment, to which the union can only term as union busting, where the company is on a campaign to terminate permanent workers in favor of hiring contractors and contractor workers within the organization. And we are saying this morning that that is wrong, it is morally wrong, and it is unlawful to do so, as the Retrenchment and Severance Benefit Act clearly states that the only reason or the only criteria that a company can use to initiate a retrenchment exercise is surplus labor. And we are saying that the company does not have surplus labor at this point in time, and therefore they cannot institute a retrenchment exercise. This latest retrenchment exercise impacts and affects 12 workers, 12 families, some of whom are behind us here this morning. Of course, that will have an effect on communities and by extension the country and the purchasing power of these workers who are members of our society. Prior to this, there was a retrenchment exercise just before, I believe, which affected 24 workers, and one before that which affected 8 workers, and before that would have one affecting 12 workers. So we are seeing the systematic dismantling of the permanent workforce in favor of casual and temporary workers. Additionally, we have issues at TCL with respect to TCL having a general disrespect to the law of Trinidad and Tobago with respect to the Industrial Relations Act and the requirement to meet and treat with the recognized majority union, as the company has failed to meet on critical issues of medical and pension. What this means is that workers or pensioners, former workers who would have given their lives in the service of the productive capacity of this company, they are not able to enjoy the benefits for which they would have contributed, because the company has failed to initiate their representatives on the committees that discuss the improvements and implementation of any changes or benefits associated with these plans. Additionally, there's a misuse and abuse of the casual workers who are members of the Environ, Paxton Bay and Environ, and there's abuse with respect to how they engage these casual workers, how they utilize them and how they remunerate them. And the union is constantly raising issues and grievances with respect to these workers. What is unfortunate is that when workers raise these issues, they are blacklisted and sidelined. And we say this is not only illegal, but it is immoral. So these are the issues, these are the major issues affecting the workers of TCL that we love to bring to the attention of the public, to you, the members of the media this morning.
Tell us the type of workers. You said 12 employees permanent have been retrenched, right? Which department? What kind of workers they are?
These are skilled staff, workers ranging from engineering department, workers who do operations like forklift drivers, heavy equipment operators, and also workers who work on the plants, who are packing attendants or packing operators. So in various areas or aspects of the operations, we will find that workers are being affected.
And how many years service do they have?
The worker service range from 5 to 15 years.
What aspect of the union taking practice these workers?
From my immediate point of view, with respect to these 12 workers who were retrenched, who are earmarked to be retrenched, because the union was served with notice on the 6th of January of this year, the union would have written the company objecting to the retrenchment exercise. Of course, consistent with the Retrenchment and Severance Benefit Act, we would have copied the Minister of Labour in our response to the company's letter, and we would have requested a meeting with the company consistent with the Act. Our suggested date is on Friday to meet with the company. However, we have not received a response or a confirmation of our proposed meeting date with the company. Failing resolution at bilateral discussions, the union will be left with no alternative but to do what we did in the other retrenchment exercises: file trade disputes to the Minister of Labour, and of course progress those trade disputes to the level of the industrial court for resolution. The union of course has a number of trade disputes before the industrial court with respect to past retrenchment exercises, and the company and union is very confident that we'll win in the courts. But what is lost in the process is that as we celebrate the victories and judgments in the court, what is lost is the pain and suffering done to persons and their families, both emotionally and financially, in the interim between when they are terminated, when their jobs and their right to work is unlawfully denied or snatched from them, and they are now placed in a precarious financial position. They are now placed in a precarious mental and psychological position. How do they move on? How do they survive during this interim to the point where they get judgment? So sometimes the judgment is a victory, and indeed we are confident that we'll be victorious in the court. But what we are very concerned about is this pain and suffering that the workers have to endure in the meanwhile while we exercise the right and due process in the courts.
You spoke of three previous tranches. When was the first one? What period of time were all of these workers, the 8, the 12, and the 23? What period of time were all those workers began being?
It would have been from 2018 to present. Yeah, it would have been in tranches from 2018 to present.
Just to be clear, are you saying that the decision to retrench came from SNEC and not from the local management?
Yes, definitely. Just to be absolutely clear, the decision to retrench is based on a decision to reduce the permanent workforce of the company, regardless of whether or not there is a requirement for the workers to perform a particular function and duty. It's a corporate decision made to favor contract and contractor workers in place of permanent workers or casual workers. That's the clear position that the company has indicated.
Do you get the sense that the company is using COVID as a cover to undertake this exercise, and do you want the Minister of Labour to intervene more directly
Well, the company has not used COVID directly with respect to its exercise, because as a manufacturing company, and based on your production capacity, there's a particular number of employees that you will need, a particular minimum number of employees you require to run your operations. What we are saying is that whether there's COVID or not, whether workers may get ill, whether that cost for your operations as a result of COVID, it doesn't change the material fact that if the requirement to run your factory is 100 workers, you require 100 bodies in your factory to do the work. What we are saying is that the company has agreed, and by demonstration in terms of the amount of personnel on the plant, there's no disagreement on the amount of personnel required to run the operation. The disagreement is the company wants to use contract and contractor workers to do the work in favor of permanent workers.
So given what you just said, do you think that there will be more retrenchment this year?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I was just informed before addressing the media that there was a meeting and the manager of the company would have indicated that there's an intention to close down an entire section of TCL, which is TPL. That is the section, that is the packing section of the plant. That this closure will affect, if the company executes this closure, it will affect 28 permanent workers and 17 casual workers. And what their intention to do is to contract out the jobs done by this plant to another company, and these bags will be brought in from Brazil, the information that I have.
So do you want the Minister of Labour to intervene directly in this matter, or be able to check ahead of any kind of matter before the court?
Well, not at this time we require the Minister of Labour to intervene, but of course we would want the Minister of Trade to take careful note of the practices of this organization, because as the Ministry of Trade develops and implements policies which policies favor companies like TCL, and we are well aware of the recent debacle with respect to the implementation of a particular policy that the government would have implemented just recently, favors these companies. The intention of any policies or incentives to local suppliers industry is to encourage growth and development of the organizations locally, and by extension the benefit of that is foreign exchange, one, and two, employment in the local sector. We cannot have the government using the resources of the people to give incentives or creating policies that give incentives for competitive advantage to these companies, and these companies in the backdrop now retrench workers and outsource aspects of their workforce both locally and internationally to the detriment of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Did you give us an overall sense as to the size of the current workforce at TCL?
The permanent workforce is over 200 workers at this point in time. However, with permanent and contractor, temporary, casual, the workforce is above 400.
Could we talk to any of the women? I see there is some of the extended families here, so could we get one of the retrenched worker wives or so?
Well, I'm not sure if any of the wives here, but some of them females might be workers who were retrenched, because I believe some workers in corporate office, the accounting department would have...
Those ladies in the back, they are who? I see the women hanging out.
They are retrenched workers.
They are workers?
Yes.
Can I say the longest living retrenched?
Sure, let me just bring up the script.
Oh, you have to get that. What section you working at?
I am Roxanne.
Roxanne what?
Hollis Simon.
Right.
From the accounts payable section.
What section you work at?
Accounts payable.
Okay. So
How long did you work there?
I've worked with TCL approximately 25 years, 23 permanent and 2 years temporary.
How this affected you?
Yes, I have been placed on this. Personally, I felt a bit victimized. I mean, it is never ideal to leave a company in this manner. As it is, I'm thankful to God that I had the strength, to stand and to be a part, to know that my union took up the matter, and I'm hoping that it will be a successful in this endeavor. I have 5 kids. It will put some financial strain on me, but I believe in the Lord Jesus, and I know that He will provide despite this challenge. I know that there will be a good in the end. I see a silver lining at the end of it. So despite the disappointment I may have felt, I'm thankful also that I have my comrades around me. They are also struggling for their livelihood and for their families. I mean, I've been put on the spot not knowing I'll be standing in front of this camera, but so be it,
Well, you would be getting a package, right? A retirement package.
A retrenchment package, yes.
Yes.
Based on your service. So if you have little service, you may not have as much to get as some who have more service.
25 years is supposed to be good for a good package.
Well, it's fairly okay. I mean, based on my age, I've kind of calculated it that I should be all right till I'll have to access my pension at an earlier time,
NIS. The NIS will be eligible to the NIS also?
Yes, but at 60 years.
That's okay. That's fine.
Tell me when to speak.
Ready?
Good morning, all members of the media. My name is C.L.R.O.
Spell that. Whiskey. Spell your name.
WHISKEY, C.L.R.O. Whiskey. I'm a welder attached to the company for the past 11 years. I'm here since 2009, permanently employed. And recently I would have been subject to retrenchment from the company effective last week Wednesday. I was served notice. And this notice came at I must say, an inappropriate time during this COVID period. It certainly impacted on my family life in a very, very dramatic way. I have a young son, he's 8 years old, sent to school. I have other commitments, and this definitely have a serious impact on my family life. And of course, we're moving forward to find employment during a time like now, during the COVID period. The meetings would have been held between the union and the company. They would have indicated that we are now class surplus labor. And from our perspective as the employees in the machine shop, I am attached to the engineering services department. We have no surplus labor. As a matter of fact, we have contractors working, doing our jobs on a daily basis, right in the presence of us. So this matter hopefully will be addressed with the union and the company in the court of law, where we can get justice for this injustice that was served on us from the government.
Well said.
K.E.R.O.